discussing a presentation by Ruslan Salakhutdinov, and it's about agentic models. And I want to use this presentation as an opportunity to discuss the difference between robots and agents. A robot is kind of like think of it like a machine that can execute specific tasks. An agent is a robot that can be asked to do any task and does it in a semantically managed way. What I mean with that is you can tell your self-driving Tesla to take you to a nice place where the sunset is particularly good at this time of the year. So the difference, of course, here is that you have the robot, in this case the car, taking you from A to B. So that's not changing. What's changing is that you're giving the robot a sort of a high-level, semantically, or from a human perspective, semantically complicated task. This is the difference. So imagine a Tesla in the future, not just driving you from one place to the other, but you could instruct your car to, make sure my son isn't late to school, instead of pick him up at 8 and drop him at 8:15. Like, those are the kinds of things that agents can do or will do in the future. Now, Rus talks about this, and the big challenge here is, in a kind of way, it's a challenge, but I think all the ingredients are already visible, because what you need for that is high-level semantic understanding, which we have from large language models, and you need the low-level actuator-level understanding in robotics, or as Rus talks about also in the virtual world. So, for example, if you have an agent that books a trip for you, so instead of going to Kayak and Expedia and look for flights and hotels, you just have the agent do all the clicks and all the booking. Instead of scanning Twitter for interesting comments about your particular stock, you have your agent do that, and maybe also responding to some, let's say you could tell, please scan X, which is Twitter, so let's call it X from now on. Please scan X for comments about the price earnings ratio of Tesla, and every time somebody says it's expensive, please just comment that for a growth stock, price earnings ratio is not very. It's a difficult measure to deal with. So those are the kinds of things that agents can be doing. What I want to focus on in this particular episode is on robotics. This is about agents versus robots. So this is the key. This is not even on podcast. It's July 27, 2024. This is Krim Telco. For the year, we are up 7.1%. The market is up 14.9%. We're underperforming by 6.8%. Agents or agentic models have captured some of the imagination of the academic community, and to my understanding, not so much yet the entrepreneurial community. So what Rus is talking about here is the combination of having higher level semantic instructions combined with lower level, task-oriented executions. What that means in practice is, if we take, imagine a Tesla FSD that knows how to drive, but also understands a high-level semantic agentic instruction, such as take me to a nice place in San Francisco where I can see the sunset. That's obviously a different type of communication than what we have today, which is you have to input a destination and then the car takes you from A to B. Now, of course, I don't want to diminish what Tesla has done so far. It's amazing. I'm just talking about the next step. Rus in his presentation is talking about sort of the challenges. He's talking about the really high level bullet points that are necessary for agentic AI, and that is to have a semantic understanding and to have the low-level actuator level understanding of execution. So what does that mean in, let's say, in virtual space? So let's say we have an agent that books a trip for you, and you literally say, I want to go and spend a week in Berlin, just book me a trip. The agent goes and searches for your latest music that you listen to at Spotify, checks the hotels you've stayed recently, checks maybe some of the concerts you've booked, checks some of the other vacations you've done recently, and then figures out roughly what your tastes are. Knows you anyway, it's your agent, but just to make sure that maybe your music taste has changed or something. Maybe asks you, are you going with your family or not? You will answer, I'm just going with my wife. Then you check what her preferences are. The agent checks what her preferences are, then goes online and does all the typical, like a Kayak and Expedia and Airbnb, and finds the most optimal vacation for 1 week in Berlin, rents you an Airbnb, gets you tickets to the opera, gets you some recommendations for restaurants, make sure that you capture some of the interesting maybe art shows, and so on and so forth. So this is something that can be done today. Obviously, this is not reinventing the wheel. It's just making it a lot more efficient. And I think this is a plausible future. This is definitely a plausible future. What I find interesting for the purposes of this particular podcast series, the Not Even On podcast series, is, of course, we're focused also on what it feels like to run a hedge fund. And we are running a hedge fund. We have a large position in Tesla, and we have FSD as the main North Star of why we're invested in Tesla. So what does that FSD has to do with agentic AI? Well, we could see this as the next step, the evolution of FSD into an agentic model where we have a higher level instruction set that we can talk to, or that we have interaction with the car, and take me to Reno on the weekend. When the traffic is the best, here's my time slots. You recommend when we should go. Send me a text half an hour before we go, and make sure that if we go in the morning, I also get my coffee at one of the Starbucks on the road. And also, please make sure that we have enough juice once we're in Truckee, so I can also go visit my friend who has a house wherever. So those are the kinds of instructions we can't do today, and that will be possible. So I find it interesting. I don't think I want to dwell too much on this. I think Russ's presentation is one of those things that on the surface looks pretty straightforward. There's not a lot to say, but I'm sure it's more of an engineering challenge to actually execute something like this and make it work. So I don't want to spend too much time on that, because I'm not really familiar with the engineering challenges anyway. Russ doesn't talk too much about it. I just wanted to put this out. I wanted to pay attention also to the work that is being done by Russ and others, and the sort of the next step, the future, if you will, of robotics will be agentic, the same way that virtual AI is going to be agentic. Thank you.